the grocery delivery he sent to the studio. The night strawberries arrived without me. At 9:06 p.m., my phone told me strawberries had been delivered to a place where I wasn't invited. "Your order has arrived," the banner chirped with customer service optimism. Under it, a thumbnail showed a paper bag parked neatly beside a black door with a brass number. 17B, the app helpfully bolded the name on the order. Delivered to Marco's studio, and added a koi inventory. Strawberries, dark chocolate, heavy cream, sparkling water, mint. The kind of list you buy when you want to pretend dessert is an accident. Marco is mine. He'd left at 8 in the jacket that flatters him even when mirrors start preaching, kissed me with administrative tenderness and said, "Wrap toast." Then notes with Fox, "Don't wait." Fox handles sound. He carries microphones like small animals that might bite and listens the way air does when it's taking minutes. The cinnamon thing in the oven was doing its best impression of safety. Our apartment's light climbed the wall in obedient squares and refused to narrate me. We share the grocery app because convenience and intimacy use the same fonts. The order showed in our joint history like a typo with aspirations. I tapped the map, watched it zoom, and felt my stomach pick a floor. 17B was in a building 2 streets over, the one with the mural that behaves like a saint unless it rains. I told the cinnamon to keep its opinions to itself, put on the jacket that knows how to mind its own business, and walked out into air that had chosen honesty as a hobby. The night picked a temperature and kept it. When I reached the corner, I could see the black door already pretending not to be theatrical. The delivery photo had caught a sliver of a sign above the knob. Soundstage, 2nd floor. The bags were gone by the time I arrived, which is how plots keep their surprises from getting soggy. I stared at the intercom the way you stare at a decision you haven't leased to language yet, and rang the bell with the part of my finger that still makes vows. A camera watched me decide to be obvious. The buzzer gave its practice permission, and the door clicked open with a sound like a secret being civil. Inside, the stair smelled like music and cleaning products, a combination that gives you nostalgia for futures you didn't choose. 17B was down a short corridor where concrete pretends it isn't tired. Through the glass of its top half, I saw light as deliberate as our good lamp time, and heard laughter like a tightrope refusing to look down. I knocked because if I've learned anything from the stupid theater of adult life, it's that you get cleaner lies when you arrive as yourself. The door opened and stood there Fox, barefoot, t-shirt soft from rehearsal, hands damp in the way of men who just rinsed something they wanted to pretend was neutral. Behind him, on a steel counter, a bowl of strawberries rested beside a bar of chocolate unwrapped to its waist like a certain kind of promise. A carton of cream exhaled chill. A sprig of mint auditioned for sainthood. "Eli," he said, my name with the softness of a receipt. He stepped aside with competent politeness. "He's here." Marco appeared with the look of a man who had convinced himself to be forgiven and didn't know by whom. He wore the jacket open, his mouth rehearsing sincerity like it was due on a call sheet. The sticky end of a mint leaf had clung to his knuckle. He wiped it on a towel and regretted the gesture midair. "Delivery notifications don't lie," I said. "Humor is the leash I use to keep panic from bolting." I lifted my phone, the item list glowing with as much innocence as text can carry. "We share an app. Apparently we also share dessert plans." Fox didn't apologize. He did something better. He turned and started tidying the counter like logistics were his alibi. "I'll give you to the room," he said, and already knew which door to close softly. On the way, he set the chocolate back in its wrapper and aligned the corners with a care that made me mad and grateful in equal measure. He took a bottle of sparkling water and disappeared into the mixing booth, leaving the studio to settle into its outline. "Not here," Marco said, eyes flicking to the small black dome in the corner, the camera that keeps equipment from confessing to strangers. He tipped his head toward the fire escape, a square of iron that opens onto a pocket of night where the city forgets to be dramatic. "There's air." We stepped out onto the landing, the metal lattice printing a pattern on his throat, the alley offering its modest wind. The studio's warm light lapped at our ankles. He leaned on the rail and let the cold choose him. "I lied when I left," he said. He doesn't waste adjectives when he intends to be correct. Rap happened. People tried their best grammar on goodbye. I wanted 30 minutes where being interesting didn't have to pass inspection. Fox asked good questions and I mistook quiet for permission. "Did you touch him?" The question is a cliff. There isn't a scenic route. You count to one and make your mouth earn its keep. "Yes," he said, clean and immediate. "Once, I brought my mouth." The metal under his palm hummed the pitch of a building that will outlast our habits. He stopped me. He said I was saying the sentence in the wrong room. The air moved my collar around like an idea that didn't believe in itself. I stepped closer, because cold is the easiest sin to fix. I lifted 2 fingers to the soft inside of his wrist where men keep their apologies and felt his pulse write my name there without permission. He closed his eyes like doors that expect hands. Under my palm at the small of his back, where his body keeps its best arguments, heat had already paid. "You like wanting that proves something kindness can't," I said. "I didn't make it cruel. Cruelty is lazy precision. You treat intimacy like a sport and honesty like off-season training." "You like to coach," he said, with the fatigue of a man who knows he is getting off easy and still wants to keep the furniture. Which is unfair and also how we've survived. "What do you want?" I asked. "Right now, not the apology you drafted for daylight." He stepped into the inch that turns into a lie if you respect it too long. Heat moved through cotton like a fact you don't need to argue. He spoke close enough that punctuation found my lower lip. "I want to go home," he said. "I want you to want me where our chipped mugs don't mind our mouths and desire doesn't need groceries." We didn't kiss there because I have an ego and cameras have hard drives. I put my palm on his jaw and let my thumb rest at the hinge where honesty hides. Then I said, "Inside," because kitchen floors forgive and studio floors keep records. Back in the room, Fox had removed himself with professional accuracy. The booth door was closed, and the light inside had been dimmed to the level that announces silence has a contract. The bowl of strawberries had been slid to the far edge of the counter like an apology with good posture. The chocolate weighted with its wrapper, folded over it like surprise, had remembered manners. "We didn't touch the bed," Marco said, which is the sort of thing men tell themselves about rooms that don't have beds. He looked at the bowl of fruit with the fondness of a man who has refused to be allegorical and failed. "I ordered the groceries because I wanted to control something that wouldn't mind being consumed." "Fox is not a strawberry," I said. "I know." He reached for the bottle and stopped his hand halfway. "He knows, too." I do not forgive at counters. I let counters hold objects while I test arguments with my body. I took his wrist again, let my thumb find the place that convinces him to breathe correctly, and kissed him. Not hunger first. Relief. Relief is the kind of appetite you can walk through a building with without electing a jury. He leaned into it like debt that finally likes its math. He made the low sound he never manages on cue, the sound that persuades me our kitchen is holy. I stopped before the fruit could pretend to be a witness. He rested his forehead against mine because punctuation outperforms grammar when the air is wrong. When we separated, the studio kept our relationship by not producing applause. Take the strawberries, I said. They don't belong to the room that taught you nouns. He picked up the bag with the absurd care of a person transporting a newborn excuse. We left the sparkling water as a tip and took the stairs because the elevator had not earned the right to hold us. At home, the cinnamon had kept faith beyond the call of sugar. We ate it at the counter with our fingers because forks would have lied. He leaned against the drawer that sticks, that posture that means he is willing to be moved and wants me to be precise about how. I slid my palm under his shirt and found heat like an address that still prints both our names on the mail. He tipped into me, gratitude making him weighty and exact. We were careful in bed, not the kind of careful that kills heat, the kind that knows where to fold it so the room doesn't have to testify later. He knows where to set his hand on my ribs so the rest of me turns without issuing a press release. I know where his shoulder hides when it runs out of brave, and how to coax it into telling the truth with weight and breath, and a mouth that has stopped trying to rescue him and still wants him. I won't draw you a map. I'll tell you the room remembered to breathe, and morning forgave us because it had other work. We slept like people who aren't finished. Light shouldered the blinds with the confidence of a suggestion. He made coffee the way he does when he wants me to listen. The grocery app lived between us on the table like a witness who didn't understand jurisdiction. The strawberries sat in a colander like forgiveness with seeds. He started with small truths because small truths keep larger ones upright. I liked the way Fox listens, he said. I liked feeling like quiet had a plan. He slid the carton of cream toward me, the last of the evidence. He stopped it. He told me the sentence I wanted to say belonged to our sink, not his. Do you want to be here? I asked. Simple machinery, good results. Yes, he said. To want this. To want you where our towels remember us. To be boring with you on purpose, not by accident. We made boring plans because boring is how you keep lives from becoming memorabilia. We set a rule. If one of us wants 30 minutes of attention that doesn't belong to the other, we call it craving, not crisis, and we walk it to the bakery where eclairs mean enough to distract saints. We renamed the grocery list from Marco Studio to us, Kitchen, and deleted the saved address for 17B, so the app stops volunteering to be our narrator. We wrote "No groceries for performances" on a sticky note and slapped it on the fridge like a child's drawing we intend to take seriously. 2 afternoons later, I ran into Fox under the awning of a cafe that smells like ambition and lemon, the city's favorite lie. He gave me the nod men use when they've chosen to be furniture on purpose. He didn't apologize and I didn't deputize. We stood by the chalkboard where strangers negotiate about soup. I'm not waiting for thanks, he said, the way people speak when microphones taught them to keep adjectives on a leash. He kissed me once. I said he was saying it in the wrong room. I like the version of him that has to earn mornings. You could have not told me anything, I said. You could have assumed the worst, he said. This makes both of our lives cheaper. He looked past me at traffic as if it were a waveform he might eventually clean. You don't need my testimony, but if it helps, nothing worth deleting happened. It helps, I said. It did, not because it disinfected the hour, but because it confirmed the shape of what needed scrubbing. We did not become friends. We became men with a shared interest in another man's better decision. There are worse coalitions. A week later at 9:06 again, as if the hour had applied for tenure, the grocery app pinged me with a suggested cart. Repeat last order, strawberries, chocolate, cream, mint. The kind of algorithm that confuses remorse with appetite. Across the room, Marco was already shaking his head with that small, real smile that moves furniture. Add pasta, he said, and soap, and whatever is on sale that looks like adulthood. He reached for me, then thought better of it and let his hand become an invitation hovering over the table, palm up, not insisting. I put my hand in his because sometimes symbols deserve work. On certain nights when the city forgets to be clever, his mouth finds mine with the urgency thunderstorms claim and the patience laundry requires. We stay just on the lawful side of the line because good heat doesn't need choreography to be true. When it's done with us, when we are done with it, he rests his palm where my back keeps its heat like a bookmark that always opens to the right page. Sometimes the app still sends me smug summaries. You saved €3.20 by shopping smart. I don't trust it. I trust the square of light at 4 when it climbs our wall like an idea that finally put on shoes. I trust the bowl that catches our phones like obedient coins. I trust that if a delivery ever tries again to put dessert on a doorstep that isn't ours, we'll do what we did the night strawberries arrived without me. Find air, choose kissing over theater, carry the fruit home, and keep teaching this door. Gentle, stubborn, local, to open from the inside. 2 small footnotes, because lives adore encores. First, I changed his contact from Marco to Marco. Home, not because hyphens perform miracles, but because they remind hands where to aim when pockets pretend to be empty. Second, I kept the screenshot, the one that says delivered to Marco Studio, with the list beneath it like a chorus. Not to punish us, to remember the hinge where our evening swung. It's a tidy rectangle proving that fruit is only ever dessert when a room deserves it, and that sometimes 2 men can out-argue a shopping cart.